The greatest tragedy of your existence is not that your desires will go unfulfilled, but that you are currently allowing yourself to be tortured by a ghost. You are sleepwalking through your prime years, draped in a magnificent, invisible straitjacket woven entirely from the biological illusions, social validations, and synthetic expectations of the crowd. Look closely at your daily chase. You wear a highly polished mask of happiness custom, designed by a world that is terrified of looking at its own raw nature. You pursue romantic phantoms you think will save you, accumulate material trophies that turn into dust the moment you grasp them, and run frantically to a rhythm dictated by an unseen master that views your consciousness as nothing more than a blind instrument to be spent. Your true sovereignty has been buried beneath a mountain of restless strivings. You are a ghost inhabiting a biological machine, wandering blindly through your existence, while your authentic peace and intellectual freedom slowly suffocate in the dark. I know this devastating bottleneck intimately, because I spent my entire life refusing to join the cheerful, deluded theater of the masses. I sat in the cold, quiet libraries of Frankfurt, completely isolated from the academic consensus, watching men sacrifice their youth, their sanity, and their dignity just to satisfy the unyielding demands of a blind, irrational urge, the dark engine of existence that operates beneath all our high-sounding morals. The walls of superficial optimism were closing in on my spirit, demanding that I pretend the world was a playground of permanent satisfaction rather than a shifting arena of pain. But one quiet, rain-soaked evening, I pulled back the curtain of human vanity and stared directly into the core of reality. I did not find a benevolent design. I found an absolute piercing truth. I realized that life is a constant oscillation between suffering and boredom, driven by a raw, unthinking force that cares absolutely nothing for your individual happiness. Today, I am stepping out of that sacred isolation to shatter the iron cage of your illusions and demand that you reclaim the absolute sovereignty of your intellect before your brief day turns into permanent night. Observe the breathtaking, ridiculous hypocrisy that rules the psychological behavior of the modern individual. You scream at the top of your lungs for true peace, fulfillment, and lasting joy, yet you actively, willingly perform the labor of a slave to feed the very desires that keep you miserable. You conquer professional fields, cross oceans to find romance, and accumulate vast fortunes. But you cannot survive a single hour of absolute silence with your own mind without digital distractions or superficial entertainment to numb your awareness. You claim to want absolute freedom, yet you continuously drag garbage into your mind, inviting every petty drama, public opinion, and romantic obsession directly into your internal sanctuary. You are trapped inside what I call the mirage of the pendulum. This is the catastrophic illusion that happiness exists somewhere out there, In the next acquisition, the next relationship, the next validation from the crowd, you have been systematically trained to ignore your own primary intuition, treating the quiet, sobering voice of detachment within your own soul as a dangerous error, while treating the frantic, reproductive desires of the collective as an absolute gospel. You fall in love and believe you have found a cosmic destiny, completely blind to the fact that your intellect is merely being tricked by a biological instinct to perpetuate the cycle of existence. You buy luxury possessions, believing they will complete you, only to find that the pleasure vanishes the instant the novelty fades, leaving you stranded on the cold shores of boredom. What a pathetic, magnificent form of self-destruction. You are actively betting your actual present reality to chase a phantom drawing of satisfaction that society has sketched on a wall. The system does not want you to be free. It wants you to be driven. It feeds you a steady stream of synthetic cravings so that you remain permanent consumers of its shallow remedies. The moment you allow an external condition to dictate whether you feel whole or broken, you commit a form of spiritual suicide. You become a mere echo of a blind, frantic urge that died in your ancestors and reborn in you. Your entire existence is reduced to a footnote in a biological ledger written by a committee of strangers. You are broke, not because your bank accounts are empty, but because your inner ledger is entirely bankrupt of original detachment. To understand the absolute gravity of your captivity, we must confront the mechanical engine that drives this matrix, the iron doctrine of conformity. Society is not a benevolent guardian. It is a gathering of masked actors, a theater of mutual deception where men trade their internal peace for the volatile vanity of the collective. The virtue in most request by this system is not courage, not original vision, but this terrifying compliance. It demands that you sacrifice your distinct intellect to maintain a polite, mechanical stability for the herd. The global machine has weaponized modern hustle culture and social connectivity to create a hyper-managed prison of secondary thought, turning you into a highly efficient, predictable cog in a planetary wheel. This creates the devastating phenomenon of the stationary motion. Look at your modern self today. You are working 80 hours a week, surviving high-stakes meetings, and chasing material metrics with furious intensity. Yet you are completely, structurally stationary. You are moving across the grid of a pre-designed chessboard, but you do not own the board, and you did not invent the rules of the game. You are running yourself into a state of chronic, biological exhaustion inside a beautifully constructed golden cage. Your unique creative impulse has been systematically castrated by the terrifying weight of what I call the illusion of society. You look backward at social expectations, corporate manuals, and tribal traditions to dictate what you can achieve today. You have become an unthinking museum curator of dead value. entirely terrified of standing alone in the present moment. You compromise your primary identity to buy the temporary, volatile protection of the herd. But the harsh, unyielding law of nature is that nothing can bring you peace but yourself. Nothing can bring you true, sovereign power but the triumph of your own principles. When you choose safety over self-reliance, you are trading your eternal birthright for a bowl of collective soup. This systemic compromise pushes you directly to the edge of the cliff, the terrifying, unblinking threshold of the unscared mortality. Look ahead at the final horizon of your life. Imagine yourself 30, 40, or 50 years from today, sitting in a quiet room as your biological strength rapidly fades away into old age and decay. The game is over. The social noise has completely died down. The digital crowd has vanished. The material status has evaporated. You are forced to stand entirely alone with your own memory, looking back down the long, straight highway of your existence. And here is the brutal, devastating realization. You look down at your own open palms and you see that they are completely white, smooth, and clean. They are entirely devoid of any scars, calluses, or structural damage from fighting the blind urges of the world. Why? Because you lived your entire life in a state of deep, pathetic cowardice. You never once risked everything to stand by your own primary intuition. You never built a single structure of independent thought that belonged exclusively to your own soul. You avoided every fire of self-examination, hid from every dangerous confrontation with human nature, and allowed the herd to dictate your boundaries. Your hands are clean, not because you are pure, but because you were too cowardly to ever touch the raw, unformed stone of reality. You chose a slow, bloodless suicide of endless comforts over the agony of creative self-reliance. The warnings of history pale before this simple, dynamic truth. Your prime years are a finite currency, and the clock is running out right now. To save yourself before it is too late, you must seize the ultimate weapon of the supreme refusal. You must declare a violent, unyielding war against conformity. You must treat the voice of the crowd as a superficial distraction and begin to explicitly trust the silent, primary fire of your own spirit. Whoso would find peace must be an ascetic of the mind, a sovereign recluse who silences the blind urge of the world. If you do not explicitly break the iron cage of the collective today, you deserve to stay cold. You deserve to die as a mere footnote in a life that was never yours. The moment you seize this internal weapon, the structural cage of your confinement completely disintegrates. You experience a magnificent catharsis, the absolute rebirth of your cognitive sovereignty. You step down from the corporate treadmill of social compliance. You close the heavy iron gates of your mind against the noise of the collective, and you take absolute ownership of your inner citadel. You stop looking backward at past regrets or forward at a phantom tomorrow, and you establish your throne firmly within the sacred architecture of the present moment. Choose wisely. The clock is ticking, and the sun is setting on your short hour. Leave your answer below in the silence of the comments section.